Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. You're watching this interaction with Maruti Suzuki, and joining me is Shashank Srivastava, who's the Senior Executive Officer, Marketing and Sales at Maruti Suzuki. Shashank, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the numbers for July. Uh, Overall, it's a growth over previous July for you, but one segment continues to be a lag, which is the minis and the compact segment. Can you tell us what exactly is happening, and is that a new normal for that segment going forward?
Yeah, looks like because the contribution of this segment, which was last year around 34% of the total sales, this month it has come down. This April to July period's come down to about 31%. So yes, there is a drop there, and earlier it used to be even higher. The previous years. For various reasons, it has come down, and one of the biggest reasons seems to be the affordability factor. That in this segment, the prices of the cars have gone up much more than the income levels, and that has obviously impacted. And at the same time, the SUV segment has seen a large growth. In fact, in the month of July, it almost touched 50% of the total sales. So that's a pretty large growth that we see there.
It's almost compensating you for the minis and compacts.
Yes, it is. In fact, we have as a conscious strategy, and we discussed it last time, that while we continue to push for and retain our market share, which is about 70% in the small cars, we would like to also expand in the growing segment. And happily for Maruti Suzuki, in the month of July, we actually emerged as the number one in SUV maker in the country. Although cumulatively between April to July, we are like neck to neck, 1 and 2. But in month of July, we were clear number one. And our market share went up to almost 25% in July in SUV space. Something like last year, just for your reference, last year our market share was 12.1% for the whole year.
That's a huge jump, and that's primarily led by some of the new launches as well, right? Invicto,
That's right.
For France. What is the
Jimny.
what is Jimny? What is the kind of order book positions there, and have you seen some kind of respite for with respect to the semiconductor issue?
Yes, so on the semiconductor issue, yes, as I mentioned, the July was the month where this seems to the issue seems to get much better as far as production is concerned. And that's what we saw in the month of July. So we had very good production of those models where earlier we used to have this larger issue, whether it was Brezza or it was Ertiga XL6 and so on and so forth. So we could manage to reduce a little bit of those bookings which were pending for a very long time. But although even today we have about 353,000 bookings which are pending, but the situation is much better. And going forward, we do hope that the semiconductor situation will continue to improve. Although, I'm a little apprehensive of giving an exact timeline of when it will be absolutely normalized, because we still have not full visibility about the availability of semiconductor components going forward. But it's much better, and I do hope that this problem will be behind us shortly.
Last month when we spoke about that, you spoke about some of the production losses because of semiconductor. Has that reduced given the kind of situation in the last 1 month, and going forward, will the losses will further reduce going forward?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you remember the figures I mentioned last time, 170,000 vehicles was the loss last year, cumulatively for the whole year. And in Q1, the loss was about 28,000 vehicles. So up till June, this issue was there, but in July, there was hardly any loss in these terms. There was a little bit of loss, but not any significant one. And therefore, yes, we do hope and expect that going forward also the loss on account of semiconductor component non-availability will be substantially reduced or not there.
Okay. Two questions which I wanted to check with you was, we spoke briefly about the minis and compact segment. Is there a way to revive this segment, or price cut is the only way there to revive this segment?
No, actually, as I said, affordability is a factor there. And affordability is a combination of the increase in price versus the increase in the income levels. And the increase in price have been necessitated because of some of the regulatory requirements which have come up regarding emission and safety, and also because of some road tax and registration tax going up in many of the states. And obviously the commodity price increase obviously had also put pressure on OEMs to increase prices. And the elasticity of demand is very high in this segment. So these are very sensitive, and the income levels haven't really gone up in that pace. In fact, there seems to be an inequality in terms of jump in income levels between COVID. And I think that will get better as the economy progresses and comes back to normal post the COVID. And I think this segment's income level also would should go up. And when that happens, you could see a bounce, some sort of a bounce back in this segment. By the way, last year this segment grew 20%. So it's
Yeah.
not as if this is like a dead segment, but it is
No, no, I'm
obviously.
not saying it's a dead segment. It's showing some kind of sluggishness because of the stress which
Yes,
is
yes,
there in the economy.
yes.
And so my question was with respect to whether you're seeing the stress coming in the tier two or tier three cities, or is it coming from the urban? Because
I think in this segment it is across, because there are, even in tier two, tier three cities at the higher end, also there are many number of consumers. I mean, there is at the same time at in the smaller car, the lower end, the entry level also. Even in tier one cities there are consumers, although less as a percentage, but still substantial enough. But the behavior seems to be quite similar, because the elasticity of demand seems to be like roughly similar in irrespective of the geography.
your new launches have done well. Is there any other launches expected in the next 6 months, given the fact that we are entering into a festive season? Are you looking at some more new variants or new launches coming in?
So the specifics of our new launches will be difficult for me to, elucidate here. But I must say that Maruti Suzuki has always been a very bullish about introduction of and upgradation of the models, and that is the reason why we have such a large portfolio. And in fact, in the last 1 year, we have launched almost 6 new cars. The new Vitara Brezza, the Fronx, the Jimny, the Vitara, the Grand Vitara, the Invicto, the Fronx, and so on. And that philosophy will continue for the future also. Although the specific models will be difficult for me
How
to.
many products will you be able to, if not the specific, how many numbers?
So I think that's something which is also very difficult for me to tell at the here, because it's also market moving, and we cannot really divulge information that's market moving.
Okay. You yesterday on Monday you announced about the acquisition of the Gujarat plant. Give me a sense of what kind of addition that brings into your capacity.
So the Gujarat plant capacity is about 7.5 lakh. And of course, this capacity was available to Maruti Suzuki. Maruti Suzuki overall, if you has a capacity of about 22 lakh. So we have about 15 lakh combined Gurgaon and Manesar, and about 7.5 lakh from Gujarat plant. So that is the capacity which is there in SMG. And going forward, also, of course, we had said that by 2030 we would require capacity close to 40 lakh. 30 lakh from the domestic market and about 10 lakh for the export and the OEM supply market. And that is the reason why, if you want to add up to another from the current 22 lakh capacity, you will need to put 2 plants. One is already coming up in Karkoda, which is, the work is going on. And last time we had said that we will have another new plant, which we will be looking out for to add another capacity to be able to meet the requirement of 2030 and 31.
Where is it going to come from?
That is still being studied. So I think it was just about 3 months ago that the board gave the approval and told the management to start looking out for this thing. So obviously that project report is still under preparation, and different options are being examined. And when a final location is, a location is finalized, we'll definitely let you know.
Shashank, in 2015, when the Gujarat plant was in news, in the sense when Suzuki wanted to set it up there, the narrative was that they're going to start with 7.5 lakhs or and then go up to 1.5 million over the next couple of years. But they've not been able to scale it up to 1.5 million, right?
Uh, I don't know whether that you have got that 1.5 million right.
At that
Because
time, the communication was that it will be scaled up to 1.5 million at some point.
Yes, I don't recall that, because there were three plants and every plant had a capacity of about 2.5 lakh. So generally, a plant has 2.5 lakh capacity. Number of plants that you have multiplied by 2.5 gives you the capacity in a location. For example, Manesar has three lines, A, B, and C, each with 2.5 lakh. So combined makes it 7.5 lakh. Karkoda has plant for four lines. 2.5 multiplied by 4 is 1 million. So Gujarat had three anyway. So that was 7.5 lakh.
And is there enough space for increasing the capacity in Gujarat?
No, so exactly the point I was trying to make is that this new situation is a little different. One, the volumes that we are expecting now are huge, as I just mentioned, 40 lakh by 2030, the volume. Second is the number of models. So the number of models will have also been increased substantially. And third, the number of locations. Remember, we have these locations in Manesar, now Kharkoda, also in Gujarat, and you also have some capacity from the Toyota plant. So to manage all this in an efficient way might be a little different, because you have to manage the logistics both of the components as well as the finished goods. So it's a little bit complicated, and I think that's the primary reason why this decision which you were referring to was taken, to add to the efficiency of operations going forward.
My understanding is that, and please correct me, the EV assembly line will also be part of this Gujarat plant?
Yes, it was mentioned. Our chairman did mention that, I think yesterday after the board meeting.
So what kind of, how do you deal with the batteries part of it? Because if EVs are there and batteries, you'll again source it to Suzuki. I mean, that would be again an arm's length transaction, which you will have to do with Suzuki, right?
Yeah, so those details, unfortunately, because it's not really my area.
No, I understand. I'm just asking. My job is to ask you.
Yeah. So yes, I know. So maybe this is still, you require a much more detailed exercise to get all these details, all the questions that you have. And I'm sure when those detailing has been done, we will obviously come up to you and explain exactly what those details are.
Shashank, you've set up the target of 40 lakhs, 4 million units by 2031. When you look at the composition of that, what component, what positioning will an SUV get? What positioning will an EV get? What kind of product profile will be there for that 2031?
Yeah, so in terms of the powertrain, we have announced that 60% will be ICE based powertrain, which will be like CNG, blended fuel, biogas, etc. 15% will be EV, and about the balance 25% will be hybrids. So that is in terms of powertrain. In terms of the segment-wise, SUV versus hatches, etc. Those obviously it's a evolving. It will evolve in this course of time, of how, as we are just mentioning, how SUV segment is growing, how MPVs will grow, or how hatches will remain steady, or that sort of thing. So, but in terms of powertrain, the breakup is 60, 15, and 25. 25 is hybrid, 15 is EV, and 60 is ICE based, including CNG and biogas and mixed fuels.
And EV, do you see that coming in next 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah, so we have announced that next year we will launch our EV. It's the mid SUV. It's called EVX, and we are making preparations for launching the first EV from Suzuki, which will happen next financial year.
I'm assuming that it's going to be very price competitive to to the current market.
Yeah, so we are always conscious about our price strategy and competitiveness. Although EVs inherently, the prices are higher because of the battery prices and battery. We have, of course, plans of localizing the battery, and that is why I'm sure our pricing will be competitive.
Shashank, it has been a pleasure to talking to you today and always, actually. Thank you very much for joining us on BQ Prime.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.